Hi, here we are, Mom Proof.
Hi.
Hola.
I haven't said it in a while, have I? The art of being comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's what we talk about together. You guys.
Being uncomfortable.
Yes, but being
In all the
comfortable
phases
with
of
it.
uncomfortable.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
It's nice to be uncomfortable. That means you're alive, right?
I mean,
come
good
on.
one.
Let's
Good
be
one.
real. Yeah.
I like that.
I know. Thank you.
Okay, that was good.
But we have like a special.
I feel like I'm leaning so
I
far from you.
know.
I'm sorry. I don't.
Yeah, don't.
we were
Is
in
it like
our-
you can't see me? If you're
No.
looking at this, you can see that Jamie and I are having a moment here. But
Yeah, we're getting sorted.
Just
But
listening was
maybe it's
odd.
because we're very excited because today's a special day. Like we're like little kids. Are we? Yeah. you can
Yes.
Be childish. We get to interview our amazing Sandra Beltran.
Sandra.
Yes. Well, I think, she had a good idea recently
She did.
about, she has a lot.
She does have a lot of good ideas. Yeah.
She
Well, thank
does.
you.
You're welcome. About just a reminder of who we are,
Mhm.
why we're doing what we're doing. But who are these three ladies?
That's right.
We have,
We
lots
have some
of-
interesting details to our journeys.
we do.
I know.
Our experience has
I
been
know.
Yeah, like why are we
Shareable.
mom-proof?
Yeah, good one.
Right?
Maybe we should have done this early.
Yeah, mom proof.
We're in season 3, but in case you're just tuning in now, you're probably getting some real good meat.
Right?
Yeah, this is gonna be good.
It's just getting better. Okay, I'm going to start
Yeah, let's go there.
with,
Ooh.
I want to say Sandra the amazing author, mom,
Aw.
friend. I know, check this out. If you didn't know, Sandra wrote this book called Just Keep Moving.
That is you on the cover, right?
Yes.
It is.
I
Look at
mean,
that.
it's so adorable.
cute.
If you can't see this, y'all, you've got to go get the book because Sandra's face on the cover is adorable.
Mhm.
She's like a 2-year-old kid.
There's so much to you, but I think just doing that was so much for you, right?
Yes.
I remember you saying, I'm going to write a book.
Right.
And then you did.
I did.
What prompted you to do it?
Yeah, how did you get there? Because that's pretty
I
impressive.
mean, that's an interesting story in itself. I was at a time, it was right before COVID, and I was so stressed at work, and I was like, can't take it anymore. And I was like, I need a break. And at that time, I owned my own marketing company, and I had 10 clients. And then I said, you know what? I just need to. So I fired them all. But I can't just sit still. So I started taking a class on just marketing class. And it was, for some reason, I ended up in a class that was script writing. And it was online. I remember it was on Coursera or something. But anyway, so I went on it and, you create your story. So I started doing that. And it was really funny because at the time, I was having these feelings that I was living like, well, I didn't realize it. Now I know I was like in a frozen state. So I couldn't really feel anything. Like my emotions were real bland, but I felt like I had a parallel life. Like my childhood kept popping up in my adulthood. So
can you give an example of that? Just
Well,
because that
just,
sounds really
things that I...
That's cool that you noticed it as why,
Yeah.
right? So
Well, just experiencing like emotions that I had as a child. I was also experiencing the same emotions as an adult, but it was because the relationship I was in was very similar to the way I grew up with as far as verbal abuse or things like that, right? So, but I kept thinking, oh, these are just emotions that are coming up from my past. I kept thinking I'm just stuck in the past. So anyway, that's how the book started, because I started writing and it just started coming out. I didn't even like plan it. And anyway, that's how I got to writing the book. And of course, I had like really amazing people around me that encouraged me to do it. And
what do you, so someone hasn't written a book, and I know, Jamie, you've written several, and y'all have heard me talk about like, oh my gosh, like I love writing, and I was an English teacher and all those things. How did that, like you said, it just came out, but I mean, did it something like prompt you to be able to sit down and focus? Were you finding that you, took time out of each day? Like, tell us your process, because I love how your life, you're very spontaneous, but I can't picture like spontaneous.
But then
I
she's
know,
committed. It's
that's
like she's
it.
like, all right, I got it going. Now I'm going to make it happen, and then gets organized with it.
Maybe that's it.
I
That's
think
a good,
it was basically, I just went with it. I didn't overthink it. I don't like
cool.
overthinking.
That's good.
And I just kept writing every day, and then I would look forward to it because then it became therapy.
Yeah.
Right? So I was writing, I was remembering things.
Yes.
And then I've always had this thing with like, I want to tell my story because I want to help other people, right?
You had your why.
I want to be able to share, maybe something's going to resonate with them and they're not going to feel so alone. Because that was the thing. I always felt so alone. Like I always felt like I was such a weird kid, or I always felt like I was even a weird adult and that nobody liked me. Like I had all these preconceived notions, right? But then when I started writing and things started to become very clear, that's what made me finish the book. Because I would stall and I was like, do I really want to tell my story and put it out there for the world? It's embarrassing.
Talk about
It's
getting
so
uncomfortable.
good, though. It's so good. It's so raw, and I had a whole new appreciation for you after, and I knew. I won't say I knew the whole story. When you're a friend, you have those discussions.
Yeah.
Here's what we went through.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. But you really dove in deep, and I felt like it was just a whole new Sandra, which is who you are now after writing that book.
Right.
And raising 2 kids.
Yes, going through a divorce.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Well, that
Mom,
was
single parenthood. That's
yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like for me, the book ended up being. It's funny because I put it out, and then I was kind of like embarrassed, or because you're like, oh my God, everybody's gonna know everything about my past, right?
Super vulnerable.
Right, because I would never even open up to people. Like very few people knew anything about me, basically, other than the surface level, right? And then I think one thing about the book is that also started me on my journey, like the nervous system stuff, working on my nervous system. And also it really did help me on the parenting side because I realized that I was repeating some of the patterns that I had learned as a child.
Dang it, man. That's a takeaway for today, people.
You know what? It's so true.
That one right there. So many people, including people in this room, not pointing fingers at myself.
I thought you were pointing at me.
I know.
I know. That. I tried not to. We try not to repeat
Right.
those things.
So you caught that before you were writing the book?
I caught it in the book.
Yep,
and then I read the book.
Oh, nice.
And then I was like, it was like looking in a mirror.
Oh, did you cry like so much?
I did. I cried a lot.
Oh, I can.
And even like I wrote the book, I read it still, and I get very emotional.
Feel for her.
Yes.
Yes. You
well,
feel
that was
for
the
her.
thing that in the book.
And you use a pseudonym in that
Well,
book, right?
I do. I changed everybody's name, but
Yes.
To
when I
protect
wrote
the innocent.
yeah.
When we're telling you who they all are right now, though.
When I wrote the book, I said I'm writing the book from a third person because that's how I saw my life.
Ooh.
But recently, I learned that that was just my disassociation. So that was my survival mechanism.
Dang, girl,
And I didn't even
right
realize
there.
that.
Goosebumps right there.
I didn't even realize that till recently.
Would
that
you write the book now as a first person?
I think I would change
As
the way I would write it. And I've been thinking of it, of adding what I learned or what happened, how my nervous system was reacting to the things that I was going through.
We'll talk more about that because if you don't know Sandra, and you probably do if you're listening to our episodes, you know that she's recently become a certified nervous system coach, and we just love this stuff, right? We all go like, just on the nervous system, or nervous system geeks. But how did you discover, A, that you were interested in the nervous system, and then how did it help you after, once you've like processed this book, you've like thinking, you're integrating it all in, how has it become you now? Like, how is this new certified nervous system coach, how is that who you are? And you're more than that.
Well, because I think what happened was I've been in therapy since I was like 16 probably. And now I'm 56, so 40 years. And after I wrote the book, there was a certain relief, right? Because you put everything out and it's like it's a therapy.
Cathartic.
You're purging, right?
Yeah.
And then I had this passion, like I really want to help people, but I didn't know how. So it's like one thing leads to another, right? So I like to follow the string, kind of like go in one direction and then moving, which is why
Just keep
titled
moving.
the book Just Keep Moving.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like my therapy that I was doing was just talk therapy, and it wasn't really, it was great for the moment, but it wasn't a long lasting. I wasn't really resolving things. And so then I started just reading, and I I decided that I was going to train myself to help other people. So in doing that, I went and I took a nervous system class.
The student becomes the teacher.
Exactly.
There it
And in the
I
class,
love it.
in the class that I took, it was a certification class, which was like 9 months. I got more out of the training than I had in 40 years of therapy. And it was like,
And not to put down therapists, i.e. myself, but
Yes.
part of I think what makes therapy so ineffective on the regular for a lot of people is that it is so repetitive and you're not learning and you're not understanding the why behind so many things about your behavior, the trauma, the body knows and all the things. And so that's so brilliant, Sandra. Like you were like, duh.
because I would like hear things, right? Or I would read things, or I'd go to therapy and people are like, well, you have to have gratitude. You have to, you got to love yourself and all these
What
things.
does it even mean?
But really, and I do strongly believe in this, and this is what I wish if I could take everything I've learned and put it in a bottle to give to people that suffer, I would do it, because there is nothing worse than being trapped in your own mind. And what I mean by that is like we get stuck in these ruts of who we think we are. We think that we're this child that had a bunch of trauma. We think that we are this adult who can't do something. We have all these. We're the only ones that keep ourselves down. Right. And in reality, what I learned was that if we could just tap into the things that are bothering us. For example, if if you suffer from depression, well, yeah, let's not say what's wrong with me. Let's say what happened to me.
Yeah.
Right? So what happened to me to make me feel this way?
That's great.
And it's just a matter of following that intuition within you. And I think something that people are afraid of is like, well, how much work do I have to get there? The beauty of it is that your mind tells you the story. And that's what you learn from nervous system work, which is basically it's just some exercises that you do to be able to open up your body to connect to your mind, right? And then you can basically start to release and you're able to grow mentally, physically, emotionally.
Okay, so how has it helped you, the newer emerging you, which is really the old you prior to you being like traumatized and so forth, right? Like the authentic you. How is this Sandra that we all know and love, how is she now finding her way differently with her children, maybe who she's dating, with her friends? Like, what are you seeing that you might feel is different or better? I don't know if it's better.
I think it is better because and we've talked about this. I've lived in fight or flight my entire life.
Dude, that'll drain you.
Right, it will. It'll take you down. And so many people don't recognize them, right?
No.
They don't know.
They don't know.
Because, and not to get technical, but your amygdala, which is what really controls your level of fear, anxiety. When you have trauma as a child, because it's about the size of an almond. Well, it grows. It increases in size when you have trauma as a child.
So how's the biggest, what have they seen under?
Well, what happens is that it's just evolution, right?
Oh.
So you have all this fear, all this stuff happening to you. So it grows in size. So you can't reduce the size of it, but what you can do is learn how to increase your space for dealing with it and not constantly being in fight or flight, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's the thing, the analogy we had with the pool with all the balls in it and you're like taking balls out. So I think for me, what
was the answer to that? Just get a bigger pool.
Yeah. Right. So you just increase your tolerance or the way that you deal with things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me is the way I was showing up for people, just my kids in relationships. I would complain all the time like, oh, I can't have a relationship with someone. Why can't anybody just love me? Well, it's because I don't love myself. Yeah. I didn't love myself.
Right.
And it was like not until I learned how to love myself and how I represented myself the way I wanted someone else to be, that's when I started to feel the connection with people.
Yeah.
But it was
the key word,
the
right?
feel,
You can
right.
feel.
It's
You can
different,
feel.
right?
Yeah.
Not even communicating.
And
it
Yeah,
it
definitely is.
And it's like, to me, and because I've been there where people say, oh, those are just words, but it's really about the self-talk, right? So every day we say hundreds of things to ourselves, and most of them are probably negative. So I tried this, and it wasn't until recently that I was like, I can't connect, even in relationships or whatever. And I started telling myself every day, I was like, how much I loved myself, right? And then it's hard because then the negative thoughts come back, and then I just would say change. And it's like you trigger yourself, like that word change, and then it just starts becoming automatic. And at that point, everything changed. Because then you start to attract what you want. You start to attract the people you want, the friendships you want. And then life just becomes limitless, right? You're no longer trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing I learned, is that we're trapped.
Mm-hmm.
We're trapped. We trap ourselves. And I guess the one thing that I would love, to encourage people who are listening is just don't get stuck on time or space or age. You can be any age and do anything you want. You just have to be able to tap into yourself to be able to move forward. And when you do, I think it's such a freeing, liberating feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's why I'm doing what I do right now, because it was like, it has been such a big thing for me. Like, I don't want to live. I want to create.
Mm-hmm.
I want to create experiences for me, my children, my friends. Every day I want to learn something new. And
so what's your next thing?
Yeah.
What do you want to do next?
My next thing is I want to rewrite the book and then input tips on how that affects your nervous system. Like this.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a combo.
This type
I
of
like
stuff.
that.
Yeah, I like that. It's like a work. Yeah.
Because then it
Yeah.
becomes more
I
like
love books like that.
Me
by the way,
too.
that
Yeah,
are-
same.
They're almost interactive.
Yeah.
Right. That's
And
good.
then I'm getting my life coach certification because I think everything ties in together. Your mental state, your physical state, your eating, your sleeping.
Well, you're already a great example of physical health, right? If y'all, if you don't know Sandra, she's
Okay.
at the gym. Like what?
What is one thing that people don't know about her? What would you say? I have a couple things. This is good.
Yeah,
oh God.
that's
Okay. Don't worry, I won't talk about that.
Yeah, not
That
that,
one
time. Well, yeah, probably that she is like a small package of energy and might, and she would like kickbox the shit out of you if you get in her way. No,
Yes,
you know
I
what
want to
mean?
add to it. She holds the record for holding a plank.
Oh, I did not. How long?
It was like 17 minutes or some
What?
shit.
That was just at my studio.
Okay,
That's a lot.
we're not going to discount that. You
I
want,
don't care
you wanna
where
try
it is.
plank?
Let's go right now. I'll probably
Oh
get
my
like
God.
6 minutes if I'm lucky.
even.
Maybe. You're right.
Oh, you
So-
are amazing.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you, guys.
that's good. That's good. Yeah. So she's a sweetheart, and
What? All right. Tell us one thing about yourself that we don't know.
Ooh. Tell us one thing about yourself that we don't know. Gee.
I mean, I've read the books.
Yeah, and you guys know
Yeah.
a lot about
Yeah.
me.
I know.
Maybe that you're planning. That I mean, you said what you
Right.
were
It
just
could be
going to do, but is there?
It doesn't have to be huge either, right?
Someone asked me a question. Actually, it was a life coach, and it was something about what would you do if there were no parameters to anything,
yeah.
like
I like
any
that. Yeah.
anything.
Oh.
Well, one thing is that I do have a meeting with somebody who wants to turn my book into a series or documentary,
That's awesome.
That is so cool.
which is exciting.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Exciting and nerve-wracking.
Would you
at the same
star in
time.
it?
No. Oh my gosh, who would we
know
get for her?
I don't know.
I don't know. We'd have to think about
I
that.
know. Like we're like have input, Jamie and I, we're her, her
Yeah.
coaches for acting and other things as
We're
well.
her people.
We are.
Yeah.
Tribe.
It's
Y'all
true.
are,
Thank you.
for sure.
That's exciting, girl.
I know.
So,
You've
okay,
done so
I
good.
don't know how much time we have.
Excuse me.
Do we have time? I mean,
we have a couple more
okay.
minutes.
So then before we pull a question, Sandra, like, what would you say to that little girl that's on the front of the book?
What's some advice you would give her?
Yeah.
What would you,
or what
one
would you
thing you would say?
Yeah. Or maybe
Yeah.
what does she need to hear, this girl? She's so cute.
there's a letter in that book that I wrote to myself, and I would just say, things get better.
Yeah.
They always do. Everything is temporary, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
It's hard to sit through that.
It is tough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're so super fun.
Yes, as we have her tearing up.
I know. I'm trying to pull her in. I want to give her a hug.
Well, that's the thing is like,
Yeah,
It's
you can
real,
be
though.
vulnerable. See, that's authentic, right? This is tearing up if you're not watching.
That when I think of myself as a child, and then I see myself now as an adult, I never thought I'd be there.
Oh, that's so cool, girl.
So it's emotional when I see that.
Of course. And the impact that you've had on so many people.
Yes.
Is
well, and her own children.
I know.
I mean, I know they don't know they may not know who you were then, but I know your sister does, your mother does. They see it, and they were part of that equation. So it must be one of those real moments where they're quite impressed and quite just amazed at your
inspiration. And we need more of that in the world. And I think
talking about being uncomfortable and doing something about it.
I love it. And you were bothered.
Yeah.
Why does that word always
bothered?
Being bothered and doing something.
But let's pull a question.
All right,
man. Okay.
do it to it.
Sandra, I hope the new ones are in there, right?
I think so,
revised
yes.
ones. Okay, go
The
ahead.
funny question?
Yeah, I hope so.
Are they? I don't know.
You got some new ones. I hope.
I don't know. It was late at night after a glass of wine, maybe.
Yeah, I
I
think so. These were cut very... Says, have you ever accidentally used your parent voice in a meeting, and how did that go over?
That's a good one.
I definitely have.
In a CFC meeting or something?
Excuse me. Yes, I would. Mm-hmm. In
did they-
Cambodia.
Oh.
Yes. I think when you have 6 kids at home all at once, there is no alternative. Then that parent voice doesn't go away. Now, what I was saying was, let me reiterate.
Ooh, yeah. They're settle it down.
You must do it too.
I could use, the teacher voice is actually, I don't know if it's my parent voice. I know it's the cedar. I sometimes project really loud, and that I think is from teaching, but I'll do that at home, and they're just like, geez, can you turn it down? And I'm like, it's from the belly,
Right.
man. You want to command some respect. So
And you?
Yes, I have. And it's just talking to just lecturing, right? And then you're kind of like, oh,
oops, sorry.
These aren't my children.
But you should be.
So the takeaways are just keep moving.
Yes.
Go get the book.
Get the book.
Yeah.
And be sure that you, I think, pause for a second and actually, like you said, catch yourself in the minute where you are repeating something. That's what I'm,
Yes, that was really good.
That you see a pattern. It's not the one you want, and you just have to
change.
You got to change, and you can say change.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's challenge all of our listeners to change.
Change.
Say change.
Change.
I'm going to try it. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.